This is Frank Sando, new assistant director here at camp. Wanted to come and introduce myself, and got the first Fireside devotional to give you. But let me first set the scene. So there's a man that walks 1 mile each way every day to get fresh water. He takes 2 clay pots and puts them on a stick and carries them on his journey. And one of the clay pots is a perfect new pot. It's without blemish and holds full water. And the second clay pot is got some cracks and some holes in it. And he takes these clay pots and does this every day for 2 years. And finally, one day, the clay pot that's got holes and cracks in it stops to him and says, "Hey, I don't know why you take me on this journey every day. Obviously, I don't hold as much water and bring it home like the other clay pots that are perfect, and not sure why you take me." And the clay pot that is without blemish, kind of sits pridefully and doesn't say a word, but thinks to itself, yeah, this guy should get another clay pot just like me so we can accomplish more for him. And the man kind of just smiles and says to the pot, let me take you on this journey again, and picks up the clay pots and continues to walk. And he says, "You see, along this side of the road where you are, I've planted seeds, and for the last 2 years you've helped me water these seeds through your holes. And even though I've gotten home each day and had only half of the water out of you, the water that you have used, that I've gotten to spread around, has created a much more beautiful land. And each day I get to bring home flowers that brightens the day." And you might be listening to this and thinking, "Yeah, okay, Frank, cute story. How does this apply to today's life and all that's going on right now?" And I won't pretend to tell you that I know exactly what is going on through God's eyes and how He's using this, but I will tell you biblically, if you study kind of God's people and their walk with the Lord, you'll notice there's a cycle that perpetuates, and it starts with God's people being in love with the Lord and being in obedience to His commands and having a covenant with Him. And it typically then leads to them deciding to go their own way and going against the Lord's teachings and slipping into an area where they're following their own callings and their own wishes. And as that continues to progress and happen, it usually leads to a time where God removes Himself and says, "You've broken vow with me, and I will allow you to do your life your own way, but there's consequences to that, and allow those to take effect." And as those consequences do start to take effect, then a lot of times God's people will start to look back to the Lord and say, "Hey, where are you in this time?" and call for His help and look to follow His teachings again. And so I don't know if that's necessarily the case today or not. We certainly could be a people, or we could be a church that has been doing things a certain way and gotten accustomed to them and started to get prideful in what we're doing and started to think, gosh, look how great we have everything going. And so we might be that clay pot that's full of pride. And the Bible says, pride cometh before the fall. In Proverbs 6, it says, there are 6 things the Lord hates, 7 that are detestable to Him. And the first one that comes up is haughty eyes. It talks about lying tongues and hands that shed blood. It talks about a heart of evil schemes. It talks about feet that are quick to rush into evil, a false witness who pours out lies, and even a person who stores up conflict in the community. But above the gossip, above the selfish fool, above the con artist, above the murderer even, He puts lying tongues and haughty eyes. But that might not be you. We might be thinking, maybe we're the cracked pot in this story, and we focus and concentrate on all of our weaknesses and where we don't have it together. And as we're looking at the, maybe school that's going on a little bit differently, or the different changes that are in our lives, we're looking around saying, "Gosh, I'm not equipped to handle this properly." And the Lord speaks to that as well. He says we are fearfully and wonderfully made, that He counts and numbers each one of the hairs on each of our heads, and He knows us personally. It also says that He's created good works for us to do, that He's prepared and put our name on in advance. So we might take a moment to think about that. Or maybe we identify with neither. Certainly, I bet a number of you in this time are like me, trying to hold it all together and growing tired. And I want to take a moment just to send a special thank you for all the teachers and coaches and those of you that are healthcare professionals and delivery drivers and anybody else that's doing services that typically gets taken for granted. There's no doubt that in this time we want to lift you guys up and honor you. But you might also be like my wife. You might be an introvert, you might be a gamer, you might be a homeschooler and looking around and just saying, finally, everybody else in the world is doing life the way that I do. And that's okay too. In any case, my encouragement to you today is the same. It's to remember that, sometimes flowers grow best in manure in crappy situations, and what our job is to look around and try to bloom where we're planted. God has put us in our particular callings and in our particular places, and if we can do a good job of realizing who it is that looks up to us and the different people that we can affect and love on, then we're going to feel more fulfilled in our daily lives and in our daily struggles and our daily tasks. And at the same time, we're going to have a chance to grow closer to the Lord, to our Creator. So I thank you for hearing that story. There will be a couple of questions that will attach with this that you can reflect on and think a little bit further in detail. And if you want to know more about some of the things that Camp Jim is doing, you can visit our website, www.campjim.org, and we have some links to some of the new stuff we're doing as well.